My name is Anna Marie. Welcome to Actual Spinster. Today, as you can tell from the title of this video, I thought I'd just talk about some books and TV shows that are about academia, and I guess also just kind of the pursuit of knowledge and campus novels, that kind of thing, because yeah, I'm kind of in the mood for it right now, and obviously it's back to school season. Yeah, and then also I'm reading The Idiot right now, specifically by Elif Batuman, and this is a campus novel, or I guess I don't actually know the specific what qualifies something specifically to be a campus novel, but anyway, this is set at Harvard University in the 90s, so I think it counts. And yeah, I don't know, I read a couple books recently, and I've been watching some things which have that kind of energy, so I was maybe I'll just talk about them all together, because it's a vibe, you know? I think there's only 2 TV shows specifically that I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to start by talking about the books. Obviously there is The Idiot, but I haven't finished this, so I'm not totally including it, but I really am enjoying reading this so far, and I loved the first page. I love it. I love books that have emails in. I'm just really interested in that form of communication, and the way what that can say about technology and connection. You can probably hear the rain. So yeah, so the fact that this starts with, I didn't know what email was until I got to college. That's literally the first line. I would say that the rest of the books on this list are not all completely wedded to a university setting, or being a campus novel or anything like that, but they do just kind of have that sort of energy, or they are about the pursuit of knowledge, or they're about the consequences of university, I guess, and what kind of institutionalized power can do, or they're exploring some of that. So yeah, I don't know if that made sense at all, but I'm going to start by talking about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke first, I think, which is a sort of empty house novel. That doesn't really make any sense. It's set in this house with loads of statues, and there's one person, Piranesi, and then sometimes another person who's called the Other, and we're reading Piranesi's notebooks, and he has a system for everything, and it's very regimented, and it's very sort of academic, or I suppose maybe it's very scientific. There is also this kind of mystery about what is happening. Piranesi is sort of pursuing knowledge, so there's lots he doesn't know. He's constantly noting down what he's the information he's gathering about the world he lives in, and so we also are learning alongside him. It is also about kind of transgressive knowledge too, and yeah, toxic relationships within that. Maybe even kind of relationships become kind of a form of transgression itself, fundamentally. It's quite hard to talk about this without kind of going into depth, but it's interested in note-taking, it's interested in memory in that sense, it's interested in reality, truth, these kinds of very scientific questions, and it maybe gives you some answers and maybe doesn't give you all of them, although I think it gives you quite a few. And yeah, it's very interesting, and there are some students, there's a professor specifically who's involved in some way, and yeah, there's one particular student who I wish we had got way more time with. But I loved Piranesi. I felt so sorry for him a lot of the time, and I think he's really sweet. So the next one I spoke a bit about recently, but The Memory of Babel by Christel Dabo, translated by Hildegard Searle. This is actually quite a sort of academia-y book, because a lot of it is focused on learning, being at this institution where you're trying to pass tests. So it does have that kind of dark academia aesthetic. This is not a recommendation of it, but it does, yeah, I would say it kind of fits in with this vibe, and it did give me a lot of feelings about learning and being behind and trying to get on top of your class or whatever. Another one that is kind of ish is Gingerbread by Helen Oyeyemi. Yeah, I mean, one of the characters is at Oxford University, I think. We visit him and stuff, but I also think that this is part of this kind of pursuit of knowledge vibe, because it sort of questions meaning, how we make meaning, sense, nonsense, but also how you know things, which is something that I really like to think about, or I like to read books about, where the fact that there are many different ways of knowing things, intellectually, bodily, spiritually, I don't know, lots and lots of different ways. And yeah, I love reading books which kind of question that, or those frameworks, or question the idea that you, in order to know something, you have to intellectually know it, like you have to know it in your mind rather than in other ways. And Gingerbread is an incredible book. I'm really excited to reread it. I think that there are some like honourable mentions to The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge, which is a young adult book, or like a kid's book, and it's a historical fiction book set in the Victorian era, and we follow a girl called Faith, and her father is I don't know, he's a religious man, a pastor, I never remember what he is, and he's also a natural scientist during the sort of 1860s, I think, you know, so during the sort of Darwin origins of species kind of era where all of these scientific questions of evolution are really like coming to the fore and are complicating received wisdom about where humanity came from and like how they started and the planet and fossils and things like that. It's not about, you know, university, but it is very much about knowledge. There's obviously quite a lot of like parallels in there about, you know, the tree of knowledge, like eating the fruit, lie tree, that kind of thing. And there's also a sort of vision element to it, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I really did like that book. I think it's a really good book. It's like a blend of mixtures of genres, I guess. So sort of it is historical fiction, and it's also kind of like a mystery, a little bit of a thriller, and then there's kind of this like fantasy element to it as well. And then the other honourable mention is actually Gideon the Ninth, because this also is quite a lot about like learning, and it's also quite sort of like university-y, where they have to go from like room to room, from laboratory to laboratory, learning all of these lessons with all of these like, not algorithms, like with formula. It's all focused on necromancy. But yeah, I really love that, you know, and we all know that university, you wake up, you go to class, you have to fight a magical creature, and then you go home. Yeah, that basically sums Gideon the Ninth up, I think. No, but like, yeah, it does have that sense of like searching for stuff, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and I think if you're looking for like a kind of dark academia vibe, but you don't want to read an actual like university set novel, it might give you some of like what you're looking for. I think Piranesi too like engages a lot with academia also as like a place of harm, which I realise like dark academic stuff probably does, although not that I've read much of that, but I also kind of think that there's like a glorification of, you know, a lot of like the mistreatment that you're supposed to put yourself through as a student, and then none of the kind of the power dynamics that can be inherent in a university structure, specifically when taking things like gender into account. Well, I totally lost what I was saying there, but like, I guess, I don't know, I can't talk about it specifically. But I don't know if that makes sense. If you've read it, maybe that makes sense. So then the two TV shows that I've been like watching and really enjoying recently, actually both of them I've been re-watching, although this first one I had only watched like the first 3 seasons or so I am now like past where I've already watched. But yeah, so the first one is Gilmore Girls, which I feel like is pretty obvious. It's very much about like, there's even like the Rory Gilmore reading challenge or whatever, because everybody's a nerd who loves it. But yeah, so there's like 2 kind of key learning institutions that are happening in Gilmore Girls. One is Chilton, which is Rory's like private school that she starts going to at the very beginning of the show, and the second place is the university that she goes to. Those were the 2 main things. And yeah, like I think I probably do enjoy like the Chilton stuff more, but that's actually probably also because I'm more familiar with it, because I have watched those seasons way more than I've obviously watched when she's at university, and the vibe does change a little bit, but it is really nice, and like her excitement and her like desire to learn like is nice. I know people don't really like Rory, but I think she's fine. Like I don't really get why people would dislike her, like, you know, maybe that's just because I'm definitely more of a Rory than anything else. And then the second show was actually a surprise to me. I've been rewatching Jane the Virgin, and I think it's in the 2nd season into the 3rd season where Jane is going to grad school. She's doing like a writing grad school stuff. Obviously it doesn't focus on it much, there's quite a lot going on in Jane the Virgin. But yeah, it was just really nice, and like, you know, she's very excited about it, and she's obviously an overachiever because she's Jane. And I just was like enjoying the back to school energy and the excitement to learn. I don't really know what this video is. I hope it's enjoyable. If you have any books that like sound like the ones that I've mentioned here, then definitely recommend them to me. I would really like to know. I don't think I will be reading like stuff like The Secret History, but I am interested in like other things. I also do have like a couple of books that I have like on my radar that I would like to pick up, maybe, that are also kind of giving off this vibe. Some of them, yeah, I'll definitely read before others, but I do want to read Bunny. I did actually try to listen to the audiobook, but I was too annoyed by the audiobook narrator, so I was like, that's probably a book I'll just have to read physically, which is fine. I really want to read Catherine House by Elizabeth something. Ugh, I should have looked up the name, sorry. Yeah, that I would really like to read. I also want to read Possession by Ers Byer, which I kind of think will vaguely fit into this like series. Also, obviously, like there are other books that would fit, like Loat I think is also like a book that falls into this kind of thing, although in quite like a subversive or like counter-academic way. But like, yeah, I thought I would focus more on like books that I had read recently, because the whole point is I've been reading these recently because I've been wanting this kind of vibe specifically. But yeah, Possession I also thought might fit in. Also a book called Dr. Edith Vane and the and the Hares of Crawley Hall. That looks like a kind of parody or like a satire of like the state of university and stuff, and kind of like a fabulous kind of element to it maybe. I saw some people online talking about this, not on BookTube but like on Twitter, and it just seemed interesting, so yeah, I've kind of had my eye on it for a while, but I've never seen an actual copy of it. But I think I'm gonna try to read it like pretty soon. Like I said before, definitely do like let me know if you have any like recommendations specifically. I guess, yeah, so like I'm not really looking for books where there is a murder, although like mystery books I'm interested in. I just don't, yeah, I'm not like I'm not looking for it to be like thrilling necessarily, and it also can be like kind of mundane and boring, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say no to a book that had murder in it. It's just, yeah, I'm not really that interested in like secret history stuff. I'm more interested in other ways of interacting with and like problematizing university and education structures and stuff like that. Again, maybe none of that made sense, but I hope it did. I hope you have a lovely day when you're watching this, and I will talk to you when I next talk to you. Bye!